Why did I write this book? There's been a lot of studies of the No Child Left Behind Act, but none that really tied together in one package a study that looked at federal, state, and local levels and how the laws kind of trickled through the entire system. No Child Left Behind is not brand new. It's based on the original Elementary and Secondary Education Act, which was passed during President Johnson's administration in the 60s. In 1994, when President Clinton and his team revised it, they essentially laid the groundwork for what became No Child Left Behind. President Bush essentially adopted basically all of what was in that law and then just pushed the federal role farther down the road. No Child Left Behind required, these are some of the specific requirements, it required each state to develop standards in reading and math and also in science. And then it required states also to test their students in grades 3 through 8 and then once in high school in reading and math, and then science tests came along later on. But it was up to states to decide what the content of those tests would look like, what the format would look like, and also what it means to be proficient in those subjects. So in order to be called proficient in reading, in Virginia, that means one thing. Drive across the border to Maryland, that means something different. You know, go to any other state, it means something different. One of the other things in the law said that all students in all schools needed to be proficient in reading and math by the year 2014. And so that deadline is coming up, and based on the track record that we've seen, no state will accomplish that. And in fact, in some states, it's entirely possible that the vast majority, meaning 90% or more of their schools, will be deemed in need of improvement. As I read the evidence and as I look at the studies that have been done, I think on balance the negatives outweigh, but I don't think that means we should understate the positives. I think No Child Left Behind deserves credit for having called our attention to inequities and gaps in student achievement, unlike ever before. The idea that we have some students based on the circumstance of their birth or the community in which they live, they simply have less access to outstanding schools, teachers, etc. They're not learning, and as a result, they face severe hardships as adolescents and then when they enter adulthood. Another positive, I think, would be the fact that the law has helped state governments and local governments increase their technical capabilities to do their work. By forcing states to administer exams, to report out results, to create certain types of school report cards that include data on how well are students doing, what are the teachers' qualifications. It takes some administrative and bureaucratic expertise to do those sorts of things. And I think No Child Left Behind helped sort of give a shot in the arm to some efforts that were already underway. And then a last positive, I think, is that No Child Left Behind provided a sort of political cover for public officials at state and local levels to push for sometimes difficult policy changes that might not otherwise have come around had the federal government not been there to take the blame for it. Those, I think, are some positives. I think that the negatives are big, though. If we envisioned No Child Left Behind to be a law that was going to promote accountability and promote high performance, students learning rigorous content, it really has fallen down. Within the states, some places have adjusted their expectations, either by actually adjusting the standards themselves, or more typically by adjusting the cut scores that students have to make in order to be deemed proficient. So every state could make all students proficient by simply lowering the bar, and then that would solve the bureaucratic problem. What would I tell Obama to do next?
Wait, what would you tell him?
Yeah, I guess the first thing I would tell him is I would encourage him to recognize that whatever federal education policy emerges, the reality is that states and localities will be the ones that will have to either make it work or not make it work.